Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Marvelous Monday. I'm Leslie Watkins and I'm going to help you make something beautiful today. So I have pulled out my scrap bucket. So in here I've got all the leftover bits and pieces of various projects that I've worked on. And I remembered I had all these goodies in here from the little Mermaid envelope, and I'll show you that. I think it's in here. I was inspired last night because after the Dandelion Cottage Design Team meeting, one of my members, the beautiful Candy from Candy's Crafts Corner, went live on Facebook, and she did this beautiful little corner bookmark that gave me a wonderful idea for my Scrapbustin Journal. I thought it would work out beautifully in here. So for those of you who have been following along, hopefully you've been making good progress with your journal. For those of you who don't know, we had a workshop that we're actually sort of in the midst of right now of how to make your own hardcover journal to help use up all of your scraps that you have kicking around your craft room. And so I thought that this little corner decoration would be awesome in it. So I've got a piece of the soft succulent paper here, and I'm going to cut it down. And I think 5.5 will be big enough. Now, if you're wanting to design your own corner bookmark, what you want to do is have something that, whatever your measurement is going to be, so in this case 5.5, and then you're going to divide that by half again. So half of 5.5 would be 2 3/4. So I'm going to cut that there. So there's my piece, and then the next thing I want to do is to just put a little tick mark. So again at 2 3/4, but this time I'm going to take my score blade and I'm just going to put a tiny little mark so that I can see where to place that on the track. So here's the track of the trimmer. I'll zoom you in a little bit so you can see better. So I'm putting that tiny little mark right in the middle of the track, and then I'm lining up this corner also in the track. So both of them are to be lined up in the track, and I'm going to score that, flip it around, and do exactly the same thing this way. So now I've got this corner in the track, and I've got that score mark down there. I'm going to go ahead and score that. So now what I have is a V-shaped score to give me a triangle, and I'm going to have these two pieces meet up in the back. Now, this is just a teensy bit off. I can fix that. I'm just going to scooch that over, line it up, and now I should have a perfect join. I can do a little bit better on this side too. All right, take your bone folder, give that a really good press. And that's the basis for our corner bookmark. Now what I want to do is I want to cover up this seam, and so I'm going to go into my scraps and see what I've got here. So here's some leftover pieces. Here is that cute envelope with the heart closure that I made. If you're interested in seeing how I made this, you can go back to a previous video. It was a little while ago, maybe a month or two, but you can find that on my YouTube channel, which is Dandelion Cottage Design, and there are hundreds of videos there that you can see how to make all sorts of paper crafting projects, watercolor, and ink painting. So we're using this for inspiration, but now here's the thing. I have encrusted this with all sorts of wonderful embellishments. There are pearls and little seahorses and lots of texture and all these wonderful things, but that's too much for a bookmark. So if you are designing your bookmark for an actual book, you'd want to keep it as flat as possible. I'm going to make a little bit of a compromise today because I'm going to be using this in my Scrapbustin Journal. So a little bit of texture is going to be okay because the journal was designed to accommodate putting in all sorts of goodies. So there's a little wiggle room there. But I'm going to keep it kind of on the flat side. So let's see, these are my leftovers. So I've got a beautiful little mermaid, and she was made with a stamped image that was then painted, and I added some gold ink, and then I added the that stuff whose name I always forget. Let's see if we can find it. I've got it. The shimmery crystal effects. Okay, now this is a retired item from Stampin' Up, but you may be able to find it someplace else. And when you use this, you want to apply it very slowly and carefully, starting on one end of the object, and you want to keep it kind of small until you get to the other end, and then you want to put it aside to set up because it takes several hours for it to dry, and I actually put these things to dry overnight to make sure that they're good and finished, because otherwise you can put little dents in them, so be careful about that. Also in my pouch here, I have this gorgeous embossed paper with this beautiful seaweed design. I think I definitely want to use that. I've got a little bit of vellum, and I've got all these various other die cuts, and oh, there's some other cute something that I can use for my journal. So lots of goodies in here. But what I'd like to do next is I want to add this on here to pull that seam together. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to line it up like so, and then I'm just going to put a little pencil line, get my trimmer back out, but I'm going to cut it a little bit to the side of that line. So I want a tiny bit of a border to show. Let's see if that's enough. I'm going to have to take a little more off of there. Just a little bit. There we go. That looks good. All right. I'm going to get out my liquid glue. Because this is a embossed piece of paper, I'm going to add a little extra glue so that it gets into all of those recesses and makes a good bond. And I'm being careful not to get too close to that center line because I don't want the glue to seep down into that join, because that could make the page sticky. Just going to get that centered on there. Gives me a tiny little border, which is very pretty. I'm going to give that a nice burnishing. I got another delivery today of wonderful new products from the pre-order for the new Stampin' Up! Catalog that I'm very excited about. So I think everything's here now. And let me just get my, oh, I don't have it here. Sorry, I was going to show you the cover of the catalog, but it's I've got it someplace else. If you don't have a catalog, there is a announcement here on the page where you can click to request your new 23-24 annual catalog. Just follow the instructions there and I'll be happy to send you a catalog. And I'll also be posting that information after I do the video today. So I've got this piece left over, and I'm thinking it might be big enough. This is the brand new punch. This is a 2 3/8 inch punch. I just want to see. Oh, look, it'll just make it. So let me get that in there. Here we go. Thinking about adding it like something like that. And then I have all these wonderful, here's a little watercolored and vellum die cut, very pretty, that'll be nice. And then I've got all these different colors that are just gorgeous. So let's see what we can do now. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to glue this down. So the corner is going to slide over the top of the page, something like that. So this, if I face the seaweed, let's see. Yep, that works. Okay. So if I face the seaweed growing something like that, I'm going to add some glue here, and I'm going to be careful not to get glue where the overhang is. Oh, we've got lots of people out here. Let me say hello. Hi, everybody. I see Kelly, Ginger, Vicky, Kit, and Linda. Oh, Linda's still waiting on her pre-order. Oh, Linda, you have to be patient. I know everybody's so excited to get their things, but the thing is that the order volume of sales for the pre-order this year so exceeded all of the expectations that it was 20 times their historical sales, which is a phenomenal number. I mean, can you imagine 20 times? So we've got to give them a little bit of grace on that. They pulled people out of all the offices and meetings and all sorts of folks to come down to the picking line to help make those orders go a little bit faster, but still it takes time. I like the way this piece of seaweed looks kind of curling up inside. So I like how it fits inside the corner of this triangle here. You're a little far out. Let's zoom you in a tiny bit. I like that, but I think I'm going to need my silicone craft sheet to apply glue. I'm going to list, after the video today, I will list all of the supplies that I used to make this. And if there are things that are no longer available, I will put some possible substitutes that you may like. And of course, you know, I'm sure you all have all kinds of goodies in your stash, and you'll be able to be inspired to use up some of the things that you already have. So there we go. There's my gluing, and then I want to blot this. So I'm just going to grab paper towel and pick up my die cut, and I'm just going to remove some of that excess glue so I don't make a mess. No guarantee. And get this situated on here. Now I don't want those little fronds to go past the edge of the bookmark, okay, on these two sides, because they could catch and pull away. So I just want to keep them inside the boundary there, and then that little bit of a tail at the bottom I can just snip off. There we go. All right, now where's our mermaid? Here she is. And that looks adorable. I may be able to get a little more seaweed over in this corner. I think that would be nice. Let's see. No, that'll fit. Okay. So, same thing. I really like the way these colors all work together. This is the soft succulent, pool party, and soft sea foam, and it just makes a gorgeous, beautiful, soft color palette. Let's see. I've got this really pretty vellum piece. I'm going to add that one too because it's so nice, and because I have it. This is why it's always a good idea, I think, to go ahead and cut a few extra when you're doing your die cutting or your stamping, your heat embossing, whatever it is that you're doing. Have a few extras so you have something ready to go. So let's see if she's there. Okay, just tuck that right in there. It's going to take just a second to set up. Now I'm going to go ahead and give that a good burnishing before I add the mermaid. And she's going to go right in the middle of that circle there. Now, in another instance, I probably would have bumped her up on dimensionals, but because of this being a bookmark, I'm going to keep it flat, or as flat as possible. So I'm just going to make sure I get all these little pieces. Now, when you're working with the glue and a very delicate little die cut or embellishment like this, what I like to do is to grab a scrap. So I've got a little scrap of paper here, and I'm just going to push that glue into all of those corners. And this is especially important when you're working with an embellishment that has the shimmery crystal effects, because you don't want this to bend and crack. So take extra care to get all of those places. It looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and blot that a little bit. Put her on there. And I'm just going to hold that in place for just a minute. Kit says she has the crystal effects but hasn't been happy with the results. I'm going to try again. You have to be patient and go really slow. Kit, in fact, what I'll do is I'll do a quick demonstration since I have it to hand here. I'll show you how I do it. So I'm just going to put her aside to dry. So for instance, I've got this little scrap of a piece of seaweed, okay, and what I would do is, now you want to make sure, of course, that you have it all the way down in the tip, and you've got to squeeze the bottle, get that going. I start at one end, and you don't want to get it too thick. You just want to get it kind of sticking to the surface of the paper. And once you've got it going, then you're kind of pulling it. The same thing on this leaf. And I'm just kind of pulling it evenly, and I'm not lifting it from the paper. And I'm just dragging that sort of wet edge. And I'm also pushing it a little bit with the nozzle of the container. And I'm being careful, hopefully, that I'm not getting any air bubbles. So the trick is to go slow and just make sure that you get all of those places covered as well as you can. All right, and then I'm going to hold this up so I can get a good look at it. And that looks pretty good, pretty good. As I look at it closer, I can see that I missed the edge over on this side. So I'm going to go back in. And excuse me if I get my head in the camera here, because I'm looking really closely at it. Just going to add a little bit around that edge. Make sure I get to the tippy edge. I missed a spot over here too. I'm very nearsighted, so when I'm filming, I have to keep what I'm working on a little bit further away from my vision than I would normally do. But there you go. Okay, so there is the application of the crystal effects. And now what I would do is I would take this, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to put it someplace where it's not going to get jostled or have a cat walk on it, for instance. That is something to take into consideration here at Dandelion Cottage. No cat prints, please. I'm going to let that dry overnight and it'll be ready to use tomorrow. So it may take you a couple of times to do it, but you can do it. All right, so there is my sweet little corner bookmark. So let's take it to the journal and see how it works. And just move some of this stuff out of the way so we can see what we're doing here. Okay. So I'm just going to find a blank page here. Here's one. Now I'm going to leave some of these pages blank so that I can write in them, and also so that I can add stuff later when I'm ready. So there it is. There is a cute little corner bookmark for a gift or for your scrapbusting journal. Oops, too much. Hold on. Let me get in the frame here. There she is. How cute is that? So thank you, Candy, for the inspiration. I can see doing a lot more of these things. And also, you know, don't forget, you can also, let me show you, it just occurred to me. If you wanted to add a pocket to your journal, on the bottom, you could use the same idea and then just tuck it, maybe glue it on one side to keep it stationary. Or actually, probably the better thing to do would be before you add your panel to hold those two sides together, just put a little line of glue on the two sides and that'll hold it into place. So thank you so much for joining with me today. Please subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage so that you can be on my mailing list and learn about all of the upcoming classes and workshops and how to order a catalog if you'd like to get one of those. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.